I'm Caleb.
I'm Haley.
And I'm having Coffee with My Ex. Welcome back, listeners. We are so excited to have you today on Coffee with My Ex. We have a spicy episode about something fun that we all deal with and have, whether we like it or not. And that is... You want to tell him?
I'm not excited about this episode.
It's family. We need like sound effects or something. We need like
a boom crash.
I want a studio audience.
Wheel.
That's what you can do this whole episode. Wah, wah, wah.
Well, before we get into all of that, like, what's up? What have you been up to? I haven't seen you in like 48 hours. That's not true. I saw you yesterday.
You saw me yesterday in a live stream yesterday. Like, what?
I have no idea. Anything new?
I had a great therapy session yesterday.
Ooh.
Cam sat me down on Tuesday because we are going, I haven't revealed this yet, and this episode will be out on Monday. I'm going home. Well, anyway, Cam sat me down, and he said, we're going to see your family soon, and I think there's some things that you need to work out, some dynamics, some things that he was kind of uncomfortable with that I have kind of dealt with my entire life. And so he said, talk to Joe about it. Joe is my therapist. He said, talk to Dr. Joe about it. So I did. And I talked for like an hour and a half about my family. And so I'm really excited to be able to talk to you today about the things I've learned.
Oh my God.
Is there anything else new? I don't think so.
Allison's coming tomorrow.
She is. For like a week, right?
I haven't literally, when I tell you, I have no idea because I go so tripped out last week when Cameron was lying to me and said that Allison was going to be here like tomorrow. He said that last week. And since then, my sense of time has been so warped.
You just said, okay.
I was like, oh. I was like, okay. I was like, I didn't know this was happening.
You never know when Cameron's talking if what he says is going to be true. Because
Right.
sometimes it is, and you don't want to feel like, oh, I didn't look at the doc.
Right.
But then when he lies to you, and you're like,
He loves to lie.
he loves to lie.
He
It's a pattern,
loves to lie.
which I have not gotten to yet in therapy. But
I'm dead.
what about you? Anything new in your Kim K inspired chromatic theme?
Kind of, yeah, huh? Well, I've been really just working on redoing my entire apartment.
Oh yeah, you got new drawers for your fridge.
I'm redoing my pantry, I'm redoing my fridge, I'm redoing my living room, I'm redoing like my dining room. I am a busy girl. And I've been like organizing. I'm doing like a whole video about it. So if you're not following my YouTube channel, make sure you do that because I actually have some content planned.
I cannot wait to see what you do because I plan on stealing
Every
single idea you have.
We are like, you know how like the Kardashians, like all they do is steal each other's like what like their home decor, their organization. Like that's exactly what we do. We just steal each other's.
We have the same couch. Haley just sent me a new chair and like bookshelf she got, and I was like, that's the exact same color scheme and like shape of the bookshelf and bar stools we just got.
I hate it.
So,
I hate it.
We're just gonna always have the same place.
I literally hate it.
What? Oh no! Well, I want your fridge because I don't have a fridge with many shelves in it right now. I'm in between shelves.
You have a better fridge than me. You don't want my fridge.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I need storage. I'm trying to. Was there anything? Oh, also the cold beer we're drinking today. I'm already sweating. So, wow. And this is an airy shirt. The cold beer we're drinking today was brewed for over 24 hours, and so it's pretty much crack.
Yeah, it tastes like crack.
So if we start talking faster, that's why.
But also, like, it's like one of those things where you drink so much coffee that your, like, brain is going a mile a minute, but, like, your body is, like, lagging behind so much. That's how I feel today.
Ooh, that's fun. It's, like, disproportionate.
My head's getting tight.
Oh, no. It's working. I'm a little sleepy today. I didn't go to sleep until, like, 3 a.m.
No,
and
me
I took
either.
a whole melatonin, which I never take a whole melatonin.
That's so crazy. I didn't either. I was just up. I was up.
My grandpa just texts me. He only sends me articles when it's like he's like the bearer of the bad news. He's never like, hey, have a great day, or like, hey, this really amazing thing. I saw this amazing thing. He's always like, another Tesla just crashed on autopilot.
Oh my gosh.
California's giving your money to these people.
Oh.
did you get blacked out yet by all the blackouts they're doing? And I was like, no, Grandpa. And I know he's like, that's just how he is. He's concerned and better to be prepared, but I texted him back and I was like, do you just want me to text you every time someone in a Toyota crashes? Like,
yeah.
Oh, that's him. No, it was just a reminder to be safe, even though you have premium gadgets.
What?
Grandpa! Oh.
Okay, well.
I think if anything, I should be more worried about him because my premium gadget is safer.
Right.
Anyways, let's move on to family.
Right. I'm just sitting here procrastinating. I'm like, so what else is new?
Haley is so terrified. We made this episode outline together.
I know. Now it's here. And I thought we were talking about something else today. And so I just didn't mentally prepare myself for this. And I started out my day. I spilled my entire coffee all over myself. My cat syrup everywhere. Like, I've already had like a rough morning. And so I was not prepared for this. Today. So.
Does any of your this is my first question for you. Does any of your family listen to the podcast?
I have no idea, but I guess I'm going to find out. I literally
They would have
no
called
clue.
you by now about something.
I think they just pretty much give up on me.
That's nice.
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll find out.
My mom texts me after every single... she's on episode 16 right now.
Oh, my God.
And she'll always text me, this is what I thought was so funny. You kind of sounded rude here. I really didn't like this. Are you sure you should be doing that? It was so funny when Haley talked about puzzles. Like, she'll call me. It's not even like
a debrief.
A just text. It's, I need to call you and let you know how I feel about every moment of the podcast.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. No, none of that happening here.
And so I just don't want to say anything anymore.
Yeah.
I'm tired of explaining myself. It's funny, too, because my family takes everything that they see online as, like, Bible. So when we do vlogs... The dryer.
Oh, my God.
Hey.
Let's get some lyrics for that track. So fucking go.
It has a bridge. Okay, it's done.
Wait.
What?
Turn off the washer.
Hey Siri, turn off the washer. Oh, it really...
That was weird.
Do you want to change the power?
Can I do that?
Go turn off the washer.
Biden.
Oh.
What?
Cameron said, y'all lazy. There's a lot happening.
We're
in like a whole ass like apartment. Like it's not just us here.
What was I saying? My mom takes that for every episode. Oh, my family takes everything they see online as the truth. So like if we're in a vlog and like we're bickering, they're like,
"Are you and Haley okay?"
Like, you guys are being really mean to each other. Or like I did the haircut video with Cameron where I cut his hair, and Cameron was being his like Cameron character, his like snippy, bitchy, whatever, which isn't far off from his actual personality. But
because he's like can hear us.
I was calling my family and they were like, Cameron's really mean to you, and I was like, calm, like you don't know anything but what you see, like, content-wise. Yeah. And it's so funny because even my family believes
And they like, no, Cameron.
Yeah. Well, do they?
Well, yeah. Does anyone?
So anyway, when did you start drifting from your family?
Oh, my God. I feel like I'm gonna get murdered in my sleep. That's how I feel right now. Okay, well.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about when we talk about our family, because I think that means something different to everyone.
That's true.
What's your, when you think of your immediate family, who is that?
So my family is just women. So.
What do you mean by that?
So I have like my mom and I have 2 aunts and my grandma.
And what's all of their relationships?
Those are like my immediate family. Like I saw like my uncle. That's what I think of like my immediate family.
Your 2 aunts, your grandma, and your mom.
Right, but I also have like an uncle and 2 cousins. But like I grew up with just my mom, my aunts, and my grandma.
And they were all Were they all single when you were growing up?
Yes.
So you were just raised by vaginas. Just
Yes.
estrogen, women power.
All women.
So there was a lot of female energy, woman power. There wasn't like much.
Yeah, none of us like really grew. Well, no, none of us grew up with dads.
That's another interesting fact.
Yeah, all of our dads left. Every single one of us. So
Did they ever know their dads?
Yes, they did. They knew their dads. Well, they did eventually.
Yeah.
Um.
And you knew yours till.
Yeah. Yes, my dad was always. I always knew who he was. At least.
Did you ever see him?
Yes, I did. I kind of forget this is like a part of my family too.
Yeah, I know. That's why.
I forget that I got to talk about my dad. Yeah, my dad was like in and out of my life until I was about 10, and then like that was pretty much it.
Yeah. For me, when I think of my family, I think of my mom and my dad and my sister, and then my grandma and my grandpa on my mom's side.
Yeah.
As far as like immediate, I also
Yeah.
like my great grandma on my dad's side. I'm very close to, but I think I've always just felt like that was my family. And I also think it's interesting too, growing up, especially when for me, like my parents didn't get along, and so I felt like at a very young age I had to choose sides, and like I was never really close to my grandparents on my dad's side because I knew that I really wasn't supposed to be, and I knew that I don't want to throw people under the bus.
Right, it's hard.
It's really hard to talk, honestly. I just always knew from the beginning that there were like sides to choose.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like a lot of people can relate to that.
yeah, and it's really weird being a kid and being in that position and being like, you're my family, but like
I'm not supposed to like.
I'm not supposed to like you very much, or
Yeah.
like you hurt someone I loved and I want to defend them. So
Or those people want you to defend them.
yeah,
Like
for sure.
Like a lot of it I feel like is like a pressure which shouldn't be put on like children. Like you have to defend me in my absence to people who are like your close family and didn't do anything personally to you.
Yeah.
And are just like living like this is a very like honestly divorce and like breaking up is a very normal part of life. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
it's pretty normal. I
Yeah.
feel like in a lot of people's lives. So
I was talking to my therapist yesterday about just those expectations that your family places on you, because for them, like when my parents got a divorce, it was this person's right, this person's wrong, and if you love me, you defend me, and you better know what this person did. And so that's really weird as a kid. So then what I did, because I was like, this is too much emotionally, my friends became my family.
yeah.
And I think you went through the same thing where
Yeah.
it was just like, instead of dealing with our families, it was easier just to like insert ourselves into our
another
friend's
one.
family.
Absolutely.
That's what I did, especially after coming out. I was just like, you know what? Y'all got a divorce. I'm gay. I think we should just be like,
Yeah.
I'll chill at Luke's house.
Not Luke. Why is Luke a main character?
At this point, Luke is just any friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're a kid and you're in that position, what I learned from therapy yesterday was that it, no matter what happened, it's never appropriate for the parent to let the child in on information about someone that they still have a relationship with. So it's like, as a kid, and even now, if I have a relationship with my dad, it's not appropriate for my mom to tell me things that he did to her, because that is her marriage, not my business. I'm the child, and I have separate relationships. And that's really hard for, especially I think, a single mom to go through, because you already feel alone and isolated.
Right.
And hurt, and you're like, I did this by myself, and I like raised you, and now you're gonna go talk to this person who did nothing. So I understand it, but so what I learned is that you have to then start the way parents are supposed to set boundaries with their children. You have to start setting boundaries with your parents and saying, like, when they bring things up, I'm sorry you feel that way. don't want to talk about this. I love you very much. It doesn't have to be rude, but my therapist was like, when you're addressing a boundary situation, you have to shut your emotions off, pretend that you're in a suit, they're in a suit, you're just coworkers, and you're just explaining to them the boundary.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I can't imagine shutting that off with my mother as I want to scream.
Right.
So backtracking a little bit, I want to start off by like figuring out your family's general order of operations. Like, what are their beliefs? What did they instill in you? Like, when you were growing up, how did they tell you, like, this is how the world works and this is how you have to act? And like, was there any of that?
There's a lot of questions. Okay.
Like, were they religious?
No. I think that growing up, we went to church just like only on Easter, if that, and like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So like that really wasn't like a thing. But
what did they teach you then? So like, what code did they live by? As far as, were there certain morals or like things you had to stick to, or things you weren't allowed to do? Or
I think that the gist of my family, like growing up, was independence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't count on anyone, don't trust anyone, fend for yourself, survival of the fittest out here. But like, love everyone.
it's scrappy do. That makes so much sense why you're so scrappy.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mine was very ruled by religion, and I know I've talked about this before.
I think that's so interesting. I always think it's so interesting people grow up religious.
Yeah.
Like, deeply religious.
My entire family dynamic, and it's interesting, again, learning in therapy, how the way generations communicate passes down. So, especially with religion, the center of your entire family's order of operations is guilt. So my mom was guilted into believing a lot of what she believes, because mm-hmm. it's like, if you don't do this, you go to hell, or if you don't do this, like, you'll, like, we did this for you, so you should do this. And that was kind of how all the generations were operating. And so like, that's what my family, my mom and dad did to me, was, you do this out of guilt. Mm-hmm. You know, we spent all this money on you, so you should do this. Or your grandma did this for you, so you should love her this way. Or mm-hmm. you should go to church, because if not, you're going to burn forever. So it's just like,
oh, dear God,
everything. And it's not like,
it's just like on top of everything that's hard about life, dealing with like the scary aspect of like being fearful of like mm-hmm. religion and everything that comes with it. It's just like a whole like other beast. Yeah. Like just another facet of life that's like you have to deal with when you grow up like that.
Yeah. Well, because see, everything that, and it's also, just to clarify, it's not like my family ever said that like directly, but those were like the underlying messages that mm-hmm. I was always very aware of. And so when I feel like everything was always based around fear, so it was less about like, hey, you should think for yourself, or we want to talk about why we believe the things that we do. Is mm-hmm. like, no, you believe this because you should be so scared not to believe it. Mm-hmm. And so there's no like independence, there's no like true thought behind it. It's, my parents were fearful, so I am fearful, so my children will be fearful.
Yeah.
And it's a really scary thing, because again, in therapy I learned that guilt is a useless emotion that really does nothing to help anyone.
You know, I saw something, this is kind of like a side tangent. I saw something on TikTok about how like, not animals, humans are the only like, entity of like being that feels guilt more than once.
What?
So like dogs, they do something bad, and like, then like they like feel the guilt, and then like mm-hmm. that's it, like they move on. Yeah. And like we literally will base our entire lives around it. Just so interesting.
Because that's normal. It's like, if you feel guilt for something like bad that you did, okay, that's good. But like if people are using guilt as a way to control you, mm-hmm. that's manipulative, and that's not good. And there is no relationship that I think comes out better for it. But it's also all that generation knows. Mm-hmm. So that it's just like my therapist was explaining, you can't change that. but the people who you kind of can work with are your parents and like your kind of generation. But especially when you're 2 generations apart, it's
a lot.
Really difficult.
Yeah.
Because you just view the world totally different and have such different life experiences.
Yeah.
But I feel like that dynamic was always very... yeah. I think that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I feel like going along with that, guilt was a big thing in my family, but more so for like what you're talking about earlier, like everyone in my family, they don't get along. That's the basis of, I feel like, my family at this point in time. It's been a long time since they've all gotten along, but that's whenever I think about my family, I think about like, oh, I talked to this person and they're going to talk about that person. And like I talked to this person, they're going to talk about the other person. And like, then I feel guilty whenever like I talk to the person because this person hurt this person. You know what I mean? So like, it's all separate.
You're always in the middle. You're always, because you're everyone's go-to.
I'm everyone's go-to. And now I'm here in LA. But I feel like that when I think about like the motif of my family is guilt and anger.
Yeah.
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 So it's like divorce, but like within like just family members. Like all of them.
It's interesting how...
Oh, pitter patter.
Pitter patter, Mr. Juicebox. It's interesting how much resentment carries, I think, in both of our families, and how much they hold on to grudges.
Yeah.
I think both of our family holds grudges and like, expects us to carry their grudges.
Right. And I feel like if I've learned anything is that like watching them hold grudges, and I'm not saying that they didn't do each other dirty. I'm not saying that like they have their like reasons, and that's not really up to me to decide how you feel. But if there's anything I learned from watching them do that, is to not fucking do that. So like that is just like not something that I've ever been interested in. It's like holding grudges to the point
so
where
scary.
I probably forgive too much.
Yeah.
I'm like the opposite
I
way.
would rather forgive too much.
Yeah.
Because I think that, like you said, I'm sure people did do each other dirty, but also what I've learned growing up is watching the people who I know have hurt each other, watching them grow or change or become new people. And so I think it's really interesting because I've seen with my own eyes the capacity human beings have when they are not in certain environments to be different, or when they are in certain environments. I think everyone has toxic traits that will be brought out in bad relationships or situations. So I think it's all about how we move forward. And so when I see people in my life moving forward and becoming better, and other people just being resentful and angry and not changing, I'm like, you have literally allowed yourself to be poisoned for a good chunk of your life.
For what?
For what?
Yeah.
You've let someone have that power over you. Meanwhile, this other person, whatever they're doing isn't your business, but like they are bettering themselves. Like if someone's hurt you and you're that angry, then you like move forward, grow as a human being. But like getting that apology from the person who's hurt you is never going to, you're not going to ever get that release that you want. You're never going to get justice, because whatever happened to you happened.
Yeah.
So I just do not, again, I think seeing with your own eyes what grudges and anger and resentment does to people, it will never, ever let you go. Like you're the only one who can decide to let it go.
Right.
Oof. And it's just, also it's odd to me because I was raised so religious, and it's all about loving everyone and forgiveness. I mean, Jesus forgave everyone. Jesus died for our sins, but you can't forgive this guy that hurt you, or you're still caught up about this. It's just, it's like the opposite. It seems like hypocritical to me.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard when people use religion as a fear tactic, because I'm like, you're saying you're so religious, but you don't even want to wear a mask to protect people. Like, it's just things like that I'm like, I don't understand Christians and what they truly believe, because it often seems to me like
It's just whatever's in their interest.
it's
well,
more
I'm not
just,
saying like all Christians, obviously,
No,
but like for like the fear-based Christians.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a tool for you to control people. If Jesus were here today, he would wear a mask.
Oh my God, yeah. He'd be making masks.
Masks
for everyone.
are to protect other people, not you. It's not about you.
Right.
So just because you don't care about getting sick doesn't mean that the person next to you who has dared to leave their house in hopes that all of humanity is decent enough to want to protect each other.
Right. Yes.
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 To whatever the end of that thought was. I
Yes.
forgot where I started it. But anyways, Jesus would wear a mask because it's the right Christian thing to do.
Right.
Anyways, moving forward. Do you feel pressure to maintain relationships with your family and or be the one who always keeps the peace?
Absolutely. I feel like that's what I spend like 80% of my time doing.
Because I feel like, too, probably a lot of our listeners are younger, and I think the younger people are always in charge of kind of keeping the peace.
Yeah. I'm trying to remind myself that I'm doing this for a reason.
She is in like the fetal position right now. I want you to know that.
But this is like the first, like people, I get a lot of questions about my family actually, like on my DMs, like on my vlogs, like who are your family? Who is your family? And it's not that I don't like love and care about them. Everyone has their like family shit. Like that's just like, I don't think my family's any different in that way. It just, because I feel like it's so centralized. I'm not trying to like sound like a narcissist, but sometimes it feels so centralized around me that I feel a lot of it like all the time. So I feel like protective over it because like I feel like a lot of it has to do with me because I feel like I'm the one who like holds it together.
Do you
what was
feel,
the question?
If you like feel responsible for keeping the peace?
Oh yeah, yeah, and then also like maintaining relationships. I wish I were better at it. It's just I am across the country. You talk to your family all the time on the phone. I don't talk to my family all the time on the phone. I do call them every once in a while, but
yeah,
I feel like it's like a lot emotionally. Like I have to be like emotionally prepared.
You always tell me like sometimes you'll be down for like a day after a conversation.
I'll be like sucked dry, but that's what a lot of people too. I'm just like get sucked dry of like my emotions very quickly, and I don't know, just like talking to people I haven't talked to in a while like sucks me dry. So like I have to like recover.
Do you feel at all like you feel like you have to keep the peace because you feel responsible for like what's like broken relationships or anything your family's gone through? Like, do you feel like guilt about that?
I mean, yeah. Even though like I know it's not my fault, like whatever their beef is, like it doesn't have to do with me, but it's become my problem because I am probably the most like level-headed in the group. So I appreciate that they all want to hear my thoughts. They always talk about how they can't believe that I think this way. Like they're like, "Oh my God, you're so like wise and you're so smart and like level-headed." Like they say that to me, so that's why I feel like I can say that.
Yeah.
But that being said, I feel like I do a lot of like putting out fires. But like they'll never get put out by me. Like it's not my problem.
Yeah.
So I can't solve the problem, but like in the immediate moment,
I'm like a garden hose to a house fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel too like maybe I haven't talked about like any of the good. I think we've talked a lot about like the negatives, but I think it's just what do I want to say here? I think my relationship when I was younger, it was much more tumultuous with my family. It was never like horrible, but it was very dysfunctional. And I think that when I got to college, and then especially when I started making my own money and being totally financially independent, I think that's when my relationship with my family got better, because there was nothing else that was able to be held over my head. There was no, and not even like they did it intentionally. It's just like, when someone's giving you money or helping you out, you're going to feel like you owe them something.
Right. 100%.
So,
and I live by that.
Just like getting out of the house, being independent, really puts you on a more level playing field so you can develop a relationship as two adults as opposed to like the parent-child relationship.
Right, which isn't fair because it's not your fault you can't support yourself at 10.
Yeah.
You know? But I mean, I was the same way. Like, I was out of there.
Yeah.
I was out.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this later whenever, we're going to have separate episodes about like our upbringings. This is kind of like more of like a general.
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah, so I'm going to save a lot of my tumultuousness for that. But yeah, 100%. Like once you're like out on your own and you don't feel like you owe them anything is nice.
It's an empowering place to be in, because then, even especially like living across the country, you're able to set and enforce boundaries better.
Yeah, that's also something that I wanted to speak to as well, because I feel like as I've grown up, and especially moving out here, like setting boundaries, even like with myself and whatever relationship has helped tremendously.
Yeah.
Even though it's still like obviously hard at some times, but like it's definitely helped a lot. Realizing when something isn't like good for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you selfish.
No, and that's what's hard.
That's what's hard, because
Especially with
like
family.
that's being like, well, like I'm like not emotionally stable enough right now to handle your stuff. Like that's not like what I'm saying, like to the point where it's like damaging you and your relationship. Like if you care about that person, I think setting boundaries is something that you do when you care about someone, because you want to maintain a relationship.
Because relationships are hard and they take work.
Right.
Even with like, especially with family and friends. So it's like, if you want that to be a relationship that's going to last and continue, it has to be more, there have to be more regulations, I feel like, on it.
Right. And I'm a firm believer, and especially growing up when I didn't have a dad. And so like I learned from a very early age that just because someone is your family doesn't mean that they're your family. And so like if you really, really care about that person and want them in your life, like that's great, but you also don't have to. Like you don't owe them anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's something to be said too. But I think that one thing that you can do to save a relationship is set boundaries. I think that's super important.
And you have to like, it has to be consistent boundaries. Like you have, every time something happens, you have to like, it's like training a dog.
Yeah.
But you have to, nope, keep addressing it, which I hate doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not good with that conflict.
Not good at that either.
But I think too, growing up and feeling like there were certain people that I wasn't supposed to like my dad. I knew I wasn't supposed to like him. And there was a lot of things that happened, but now, and I was talking to Joe about it, I feel so guilty I have such a good relationship with my dad now. And I could never say that before. And I've always had my mom and my grandparents have always been closest to out of everyone.
Yeah.
Like ride or die. But I was always very distant from my dad because I just felt like, I know you did bad things. I'm not supposed to like you. But just seeing the person he is now, it's like I'm almost meeting my dad for the first time. And I told him this. I called him the other day and I was like, it's been very hard for me to get close to you. But I see how much you listen when I talk. And not only do you listen, you respond, and we have actual conversations where growth and change is able to happen. I'm able to challenge you or talk about things that bothered me when I was a kid. And there's just been so much healing that I never thought was allowed to happen.
Yeah.
And so even now still, it's like, I know that still feel inside like I'm supposed to defend my mom.
Yeah.
But as a child, it's like you have to keep those relationships separate, and just freeing yourself of the guilt for having a relationship with someone even though they hurt someone else that you love is really powerful, because it's not selfish and it's not wrong, especially when it's family.
Yeah.
Which I think for like friendships, it's like, oh, you're friends with this person who hurt me, and that's a little bit different than I think family.
Yeah. Oh, I had a thought. Something also that I've realized when like growing up with like a tumultuous family is that like you realize as you get older, like your parents and like your family, like they're just people.
Yeah.
With like problems and insecurities, just like us all. They're not like what they say is not the final word. You know what I mean? Like you grow up and you realize like, wow, like my mom did it all by herself. I could not fucking imagine. No wonder she was like half crazy at the time.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you grow up and you realize like, damn, like that must have been really hard. Like you put yourself in that situation. I mean, I'm 26. I don't have any kids. And at 26, my mom had an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't imagine. So I think that's something that I've learned and kind of applied to my family, is just like realizing that like they're just people with problems just like all of us. Yeah. Like how you know what I mean? Like,
it's almost like too, you're trying to make up for what you didn't realize, because when I think like, my mom went through hell.
Yeah.
And not even just like with my dad, just like growing up or raising her children off very, very little money, having a lot of public scandals, having so many people say awful things about her, and just having to hold her head up high and go to work every day. And I mean, I think she'd be okay with me saying this, but like when she was going through that time, she said like there would be days where she would stay in bed all day and then get up and get dressed right before we got home from school, so they would think like mom was okay.
Wow.
Or she would like be like locking herself in her closet, like crying all day, and then like coming out to like cook food and pretend that nothing's wrong. Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't imagine the strength, and I'm so grateful that I was shielded from some things, because I know that she tried her best, and I think parents probably do try their best, but like my therapist said, the goal that every parent has is to fuck up their kids as little as possible. But no matter who you are, you're gonna fuck up your kid. Right. And so I think it's important to realize it's not like, I just don't want this podcast to come off as my family's done all these awful things.
It's like everyone has family problems.
Everyone's human.
Everyone's human.
And yeah, so it's not that it's not normal, or it's just how life is. So you can just try your best to be your best. I will say for me, I still feel a lot of pressure to like live up to my family's standards. And I wonder if that is normal. Because actually, it's interesting to talk about your family and my family and our dynamics, because then it seems like, oh, this is normal. But then we look at Cameron, and he has, I feel like, this bizarre relationship with his family where him and his mom and sister text all day long. Every single member of his family gets together. There is never fighting or arguing, or when there is, they just hit it head on and they move on. Healthy. Just like healthy communication. Yeah. And there's no but also they aren't super religious. And that's why I think, oh, you guys probably get along so well, because you're not all guilting each other about everything that you've done that's shameful or wrong. It's just like you're allowed to exist and be people. Yeah. But even like he comes from a divorced family. Like he grew up in a single parent home, and just looking at what he has, I think sometimes it makes me sad, because it's like I wish I could have that. Yeah. But I don't know. It's interesting when you look at other people's family and you try to realize like what's normal, what's not normal. Yeah, you're just I don't know what is. Go
down a rabbit hole, because nothing is normal.
No. Oh gosh, some of the things I've said today. I know that my family listens to this podcast. I know that my grandma and mom do. So if you've made it this far, I want to say I love you very much. And there's just a lot I've been working through in therapy. But at the same time, with everything that I've personally gone through, I think that I've realized as I've gotten older how important family is. And even though you might go through hard times or struggle, like your family is, at the end of the day, hopefully always going to be there for you, or hopefully always going to be worth investing in. Mm-hmm. And so I think I've just realized how important family is. And I think as I've gotten older, I've tried to find ways back, because I think throughout high school and college, I distanced myself. Mm-hmm. And I think I've been kind of on a journey to mend and make healthier relationships. And I feel like you've definitely done the same.
Yeah, I feel like that's a normal thing, though. Like, for a lot of people who grew up in, like, a tumultuous, like, home, the first thing you want to do is get as far away as possible. And then you kind of, like, and that's exactly what I did. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of, like, just slowly, like, make your way back as you, like, are an adult, and you realize it's not, like, the healthiest thing just to, like, run from everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's, yeah, something I've done as well, at least tried to do.
Yeah. And I also think your family's been really receptive and, like, able to kind of grow and talk about things. Yeah. Is there anything else I can say to salvage it?
No.
I just feel like
I really don't think that you said anything bad.
Again, it's just the guilt, I feel like. I don't want anyone to feel like I don't love them or appreciate them. Anyways, something really sweet I do want to acknowledge before we go. There was in our hometown, there's a college that's a Christian college, and these roll your eyes. There's a Christian college, and they just recently fired one of their RAs for being openly gay. And you, I guess, can go to the school and you can be gay, but you can't act on it, of course. But I don't think anyone can act on anything there.
No, you can't act on it.
You can't look at someone, you can't touch someone. But you can't, be in a leadership position and be openly gay. And so just for the fact that he said he was, they fired him. And it became a thing on social media. And so I sent it to my family. And I was like, wow, this is really messed up. And I did it because I was really just we're just so politically opposite that I just wanted to know that they at least supported this, or like they supported me on this.
Yeah.
To help kind of bridge that gap. Because I think especially with it being 2020 and an election year, I think there's just tensions are so heightened.
Yeah, 100%.
But I did send it to them just to see. Again, I really didn't expect anything. And my grandpa was more like pragmatic about it. Well, this is legal. And I was like, okay, like I know that. Not really what I'm looking for. But then my grandma just sent me this really nice message after. And she's like, yeah, hey, I looked into this. And I just want you to know that I fully support you and that what happened was wrong. And I really hope this changes. And it's just little things like that means so much, just to know that your family kind of has your back, or that can connect you.
Yeah.
And I think especially if you have a family that you're on opposite political sides with, I think it's important to always look for that common ground, and also not always fight about it with your family, because at the end of the day, those discussions might not be super productive, and you might waste a lot of energy and hurt a relationship that you're always going to hopefully have, because you just disagree. And so I think there's a certain point where you just set that boundary and agree to disagree on things. But if you are dealing with a family that is totally opposite of you, try to check your emotions at the door and just figure out what you have in common, because you probably love each other a lot and you just think the world works different ways.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our recommendation of the week. I'm just blabbering at this point. So feel free to cut everything I've said today.
I'm listening. I'm all ears. Oh my God. You see Allison's
Did you get a high heart rate alert?
No.
Oh.
Those are the worst thing. Allison sent us a text, and it's a picture of I don't even know what you call it, a flyer. And it says Lost Roomba. That is funny. Are you gonna ask me my recommendations?
Yeah, what's your recommendation for the week?
So I found this podcast, and it's called Very Presidential. And it's actually really interesting. It goes into like notorious presidents and like the notorious things they did that most people didn't even know about back then because there wasn't such thing as like social media and stuff like that. So I've listened to all the episodes so far, and they're so good and juicy. So Very Presidential. It was like I listened to them all in one day. I was like, oh my God, this is juicy.
It's a lot of listening.
I know. It was so good. So I highly recommend if you like history, but also like gossip.
Ooh, my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, what's your recommendation, Kebab?
I'm going to steal something you recommended to me.
What a fucking surprise.
I'm going to recommend Trump American Dream. I am one episode away, I think, from the finale, and it's really genuinely not a liberal propaganda. It's just a bunch of interviews with people that he is friends with still or is not friends with still.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of news clips and really just factual, like, hey, this is how this man got to where he is and what he did to do it. And I think it's really interesting and something to watch before November.
Yeah, I've been recommending this for like months now because like I was just like, we all should understand to how he got to this point. Because like I didn't give a fuck about Donald Trump before the election. You know what I mean? Like I did not like The Apprentice. I don't care about him at all. So I didn't know anything about him.
You know what I think is interesting about that docuseries? I think that it so kind of toes the line where if you believe a certain way, you'll take it one way, but if you believe the other, you'll take it that way. I think that like a conservative could watch it and be like, that's right, you make that deal, and a liberal would be like, you just took all that away from the public with the tax abatement. So I think it's just fascinating because I think whatever your political ideology is, I think you'll appreciate Trump or appreciate what it's saying. So I think that's one of the first things I've watched that I'm like, wow, you could really, depending on your view of life, that you could take this either way.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your intention for the week?
I didn't write it down.
I think your intention is to get Botox, right?
Oh my God.
Well.
Oh my God. Why do you say that?
Because isn't that what you intend to do very soon?
That is not my intention for this week. That's not until forever from now.
What's your intention for this week? To forget this conversation?
God, yes. Yeah. My intention this week is maybe I should catch up with my family.
Oh, that's sweet.
Before this episode.
My intention is to set boundaries, be consistent with those boundaries, with the goal of improving my relationships with my family and making them healthier and more solid.
Wow, that sounded like
Expensive therapy?
No, what is your thesis statement?
Oh.
Sound like a thesis statement.
Of my life. Coffee with my ex.